Good afternoon, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Also give all praises to the earthly mother, the Holy Spirit. I pray that they bless this lesson today. They give us some knowledge and understanding, the times that we've come into, times that have passed, and the times of the future that are coming upon us. Before I begin, I want to kind of talk about some things that I experienced this week. And, when you come into the truth and your eyes are opened, you see the whole world in a totally different light. And this week I had to go down to Newport Beach for a couple of appointments that we had. So when we were down there, I took one of my sons with me, and he was pointing out all the different cars. He's all into cars. These little kids are. So he saw, that's a McLaren, Dad. That's a Lamborghini. That's a Ferrari. And the Porsche, and there's this and there's that, and there's all these huge ships, and people, yachts and things like that. So I'm just looking and I'm just thinking about, Esau and the other nations enjoying the fatness of the earth. And as we, drove around, we kind of looked at different things and looked at it from a biblical perspective. I've been to Newport Beach quite a bit, in a place called Corona del Mar. It's really, really rich areas down here in Southern California. And you just see these, multi-million-dollar homes, beautiful homes, but as you look, most of the time, almost 99% of the time, I saw people that were driving these $100,000, $200,000 cars. They were white men, white people. So it's like it just becomes a pattern. You see a nice car, and now we look to see who's driving it. Because we know that Esau was given the fatness of the earth, and they are enjoying their blessing, which I have no problem with, because that is their blessing. This reality is their blessing. So, and for so long, our people have been fighting to have equality, and that's not what this world was about. So, and now that the truth is coming out, a lot of people are starting to see, the error of their ways, or, how things aren't exactly the way that they thought that it was. A lot of people seem to think that they're going to get all these blessings here. And then, of course, they say Jesus, and they get the blessings that the chosen people get also, without ever having to experience any of the curses. And that's just not the case. But yeah, so we were, as we were trying to drive around, we're just looking at the women who are, this is like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the morning, early afternoon, and just walking around in their spandex and pushing their babies in their strollers. Just very proud looking people, kind of looking at me like, what the hell are you doing here? Should you be at work? Or, how in the hell are you over here with me? You kind of get those looks and things like that. So, like I said, you see these nice cars and the nice homes, and the vast majority of the people that you see down there are all Caucasians. You see some Moabites, definitely. You see some people from the other nations as well. But this is not what the video is about. The video is not about, yeah, we all know that the other nations are getting blessed, that this is their blessing. We all understand that. But we're going to go into this a little bit more, because the transition is happening. And I looked up some of the demographics over there at Newport Beach, and it was 85% white, 7.8% Asian, and 0.6% Hebrew. And I'm sure if you go into a lot of these different communities, those numbers are going to be pretty standard. And so, but when you look in the Bible and it says this is how it's going to be, because I hear people when you kind of bring these numbers up, they're like, well, it's because we worked hard for it. And you hear things like that. And it's funny, because when I was blind and didn't understand this, my own dad would even say stuff like that. Well, they're really good with their money. What? I got to a point where I said, no one's that good with their money. I said, I make a decent amount of money. And I said, I can't afford to live down here. How is it people that, to have the same kind of job I have can afford to live in a place like Newport Beach, and I can't? I said, and a lot of it is just because their parents have had, they've had the blessing of Esau. So they've had, properties given to them, things that they couldn't afford if we are on equal footing, that we couldn't afford, neither could they. But when you're given property, or you're given status, or you're given other jobs or things like that, you can't really compete with that. But when I was blind, I was told that, they always say that, well, we worked really hard to get this. Or they would say something like, oh, my parents worked really hard to put me through school and to put me through this or to put me through that. And when you're blind, you kind of like, okay, all right, that makes sense. But then when you kind of think about that, when someone says that, that implies that, my parents didn't work hard, you know? And since I don't have what you have, your parents worked hard and mine didn't. And that's definitely not the case, because no one's ancestors have worked harder than our Hebrew ancestors. And our Hebrew ancestors worked harder for less pay and no pay. So that's why this nation has been built up, and all these other people are able to have, all the things that they have on the backs of the Hebrews. I've taken the land and then taken the labor. But the Most High talks about this and how there's destruction coming to people that do these kinds of things. But let's go in real quick just to Genesis 27 and 39. I want to read about the blessing of the fatness of the earth given to Esau. And of course, Esau gives some of it to the other nations, get it as well. Not to the extent that he does, but they get blessed as well, because this whole world is their blessing. Let's read Genesis 27, verse 39. Probably and 40 also. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, he's talking to Esau, okay? Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. So you see right there, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And we'll go to 41. Let's read that one too. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And Esau has hated his brother ever since. Okay? All right, let's continue. Now, a lot of these curses, I was kind of taking a look at, and because you hear people say something like, Kanye a couple weeks said, slavery was a choice. And we know that it was not a choice. Slavery was a punishment handed down by the Father. And it says slavery was not a choice. It was our punishment for our ancestors' disobedience to the Most High's commandments. And if he destroyed his own, saving only a few, what do you think is going to happen to you who continue to destroy his chosen seeds? That's right. Total destruction. And so when we're driving around and looking at the other nations enjoying their blessings, there's some things here in Deuteronomy that kind of came to me, I kind of wanted to share as well. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 33. And really, you should be able to go to the scriptures and then apply it to what's going on in real life, because it all plays out. It just repeats itself over and over again. So Deuteronomy 28:33, part of the curses that are upon the Hebrews. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. Okay, that's happened to us. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors. So, the other nations came and took the land, and they came, hold on. They took the land and they took the labor. Both. It's okay. They took the land from the northern kingdom, and they took the labors from the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Okay. And it says, shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up. So it was another nation that we didn't know that was going to do this. And that's exactly what happened. Okay. See, and you start looking, and it just applies to a certain people on a consistent basis. Let's take a look at Deuteronomy 28 and 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Okay, so all the other nations, on top of just Esau, all the other nations are above us as well, because that was part of the curses. Yeah, that all works together right there, and you can see we're always at the bottom. Okay, let's take a look at Deuteronomy 28 and 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Kind of right there, still as kind of a reference again to the land and to the labor. Okay, thou shalt build a house through our labor. We'll build things. Okay, and and we're not going to enjoy it. And thou shalt plant a vineyard from the land, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof, and we're not going to enjoy, the fruits of our labor from the land as well. Okay, the whole part with the wife, of course, is talking about when slavery, when we would have a wife and then the master would come in and sleep with her, or even after that, when we had wives and even like in different areas and men could sleep with them, we couldn't go to courts and try to get justice. We weren't even allowed to even do that. That's something that's been happening over and over and over again. And now a lot of our women go with the other nations because they want the security that other that Gentile can take care of them. But they're doing that to the detriment of themselves, because the true kings and the true men are being wakened back up. And a lot of people are now waking up in horrible situations, married to a Gentile. And a Gentile could be also a Hebrew who's in a Gentile state of mind, who doesn't know the truth, which then also makes it very difficult because the spirits don't match. He talks about, being equally yoked. Well, if you're awakened and your spouse isn't awakened, you're unequally yoked. And that wasn't, before a time that was okay before you were awakened. After you're awakened, now it's problems. But the Most High knows exactly what He's doing when He does that. Same thing with children. Sometimes, you can get awakened and your children won't get awakened, or vice versa. Maybe your child has been awakened and and the parent hasn't been. And that's the case in a lot of times with a lot of different people's families. Okay. Now, this is kind of like, because a lot of people have been living the American dream for so long, they don't understand what's coming. They still think that they're going to get raptured up and taken away and everything else. And you know what? If I was living in such a state where I'm just on top, I always think I'm always going to be on top. But take a look here from what Thomas Jefferson says. I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that His justice cannot sleep forever. Very true. The Most High is just. Okay? He is not a respecter of persons. So if He punished His people first, He is going to punish the other nations. That's just a given. So that's why it's, being, when you have your eyes open and you're awake and you're able to see what's going on. Like I said, I'm not upset anymore as far as like the other nations getting their blessings now. I'm happy that they're getting their blessings now, because it's not going to be any comparison to what the Most High is going to give us. I wouldn't want to be on top in this world. This world's trash now. I mean, I said everything is polluted. The food's polluted. The air is polluted. The water is polluted. So you can have that. So because what the Most High is about to give us, everything's going to be pure and perfect. So I'd much rather have that. You can have this. I'm not even fighting for equality. I'm good. You got it. It's all yours. Because when the Most High comes back, I don't want to be nowhere near the people who've been screwing this whole thing over. They'll say, nope, Most High, that wasn't me. That was them. Nope, I didn't make any of those. Nope, that wasn't me. Okay, because I don't want to take any credit for all the stuff that's going on right now. So I'll just stay in my little peon side of the street. Hey, I'm nobody. I didn't do it. I don't know it. I don't know anybody. My name's Bennett, and I'm not in it. I like to say that one. All right. Now, what I do want to see, I'm going to take a look at Sirach 7 and 7. Let me get there real quick. Because when you do kind of get awakened, it's kind of like some of the feelings that we kind of get. See, Ecclesiasticus 7, verse 7. Let me see here. And did I get the wrong? Oh my goodness. Well, I had it, but I don't have my Apocrypha on me. Let me look at this again. Ecclesiasticus 7. That's weird. I was talking about, this is actually talking about oppression makes what is it? A wise man mad. And I had found it earlier, and for some reason right now, I cannot find it. But when you do have your eyes opened and you can kind of see the truth, I said it makes you upset. It makes a wise man mad, because then you kind of realize, hey, now I know why they've been telling me all these lies. I'll try to put this scripture in the description box when I find it. But it does, like I said, it's amazing because you have your eyes open and you're able to see things for what they are, and it does. It makes it really, really difficult to kind of deal with, because you've been told a bunch of lies your entire life. Now, it kind of reminds me of the Matrix. If you watch the Matrix movie, and after Neo gets awakened and he comes back and he's taking a ride in the car, and he's like, "Yeah, I used to work here," but he's just looking at the faces of the people and how they just look like zombies. They just get up, go to work, get home, go to sleep. Get up, go to work, get home, go to sleep. 5 days a week. Saturday, have some fun. Sunday, I go to church for an hour. Thank Jesus for my job. Thank Jesus for my house, my wife. Get up the next day, go to work. Same thing, over and over and over again. All right? And that's what this world has become. But everything here is backwards, and that's what we're going to get into real quick. And this is what people, I love this picture. I'm still going to keep using it from time to time, because that's what the God of this world is right here. It's, I can't save you, but I did a great job enslaving you. And that's what white Jesus has done. And what this picture has done is elevated white people to being the only people who can interpret the Bible that most people will listen to. And we're going to kind of get into that right now, because there was a couple things that were said by Paul Begley, and I guess even Jeff Sessions. They try to use the Bible, and people don't even question anything these people say. Let's take a look here real quick at this writing I have here. This is actually from the Nag Hammadi, and it's an excerpt from the Perfect Discourse. Okay, and we're going to talk. You can, like, even with the scriptures, how I took the scriptures and applied it to what's happening today. You can take a lot of scriptures even from the other books, and exactly the same thing happens. Okay, and you'll see how this works exactly with what's happening in our world today. We're going to start in the pink right there on the left where it says people. People would prefer darkness to light and death to life. No one will gaze up to heaven. The godly will be considered mad, and the impious will be honored as wise. The coward will be considered strong, and the good person will be punished as a criminal. Okay, that's exactly what this world is, backwards, just like this. Okay, no one will gaze up to heaven. Nobody's looking up to the Most High. They're looking up to white Jesus, who says they just say he loves everyone. Come as you are, we love you. Okay, but they're not gazing to what the Most High says. He tells you to do certain things, and everyone says, nah, I don't got to do that. I'm going to do whatever, Jesus said I can do whatever I want. So whatever you say, I don't care what your God says. So no one's gazing up to the heaven. The godly will be considered mad. So when like a black man or a person of color tries to tell you what the real Bible says, what the Bible says and what it's really implying, most people are like, nah, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. But if a white man comes to you and says, hey, Jesus is white, you believe it. Hey, come do Sunday with me, you believe it. Hey, come eat some pork, you believe it. How about some shrimp? You believe it. So that's what they do. You need to make sure you do your first communion. You need to make sure you do your confirmation. Call the priest father. Hey, yeah, I know that the priest was having sex with those kids, but that's okay. Nobody's perfect. I mean, but if a white man says it, no one even questions it. See how that works? But if a black man brings you the scriptures, points it out to you, shows you, you want nothing to do with it. But that's what this world. That's what it just says. It says the godly will be considered mad, and the impious will be honored as wise. That's exactly what's going on right here. The coward will be considered strong, and the good person will be punished as a criminal. Our people have been punished, unjustly for many times for things they haven't committed. But a coward, someone who has. It's easy to be strong when you got the guns. It's easy to be the man when you're the only one that's carrying the biggest stick. So that's the way this is. But that's how all this works out. Now, what I want you to something I want to kind of get into is this. Paul Begley had made a video. I'm just going to play it so you guys can listen to it. We're going to listen about a minute and a half of it. But what it is talking about how Farrakhan, I guess, says something negative about the Jewish people, and I guess it says the title of it is "Breaking: Louis Farrakhan loses Twitter verification attacking Jews." So Paul Begley is trying to support the Jewish nation, but he talks about the people that he's learned from and that he calls biblical scholars. And I just want you to listen to that real quick, okay? So here we go.
To say this. As a matter of fact, when you understand the role that Jerusalem as a city, the eternal city of God in Psalms 48, the city of the great king, 3 different places in the scripture talks about that. Of course, King David, at the time that he was there, I mean, what a tremendous role he played. So anyway, it's sad, but we're going to just pray, and we're going to stay humble, and we're going to stay focused, and we're going to keep reaching out to people. I'm going to keep teaching the same thing that is the biblical scholars of my era. Dr. Lester Sumrall, who made over 50 trips to Jerusalem to help people understand the role that Jerusalem plays in the last days. I will say all the time, Jerusalem and Israel as a nation is God's prophetic timepiece, if you want to know where you're at. John Hagee understands it. Dr. Lester Sumrall understood it for sure, as well as Jack Van Impe understands it. Perry Stone understands this. Dr. Irvin Baxter understood this. Dr. Chuck Missler understands this. Pastor Paul Begley understands this, and many others. Pastor Garlow. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So there's a very few. It's a very small minority of what's called replacement theology Christians, and of course you've got this radical bunch over here with Farrakhan. But folks, study the word. Jesus is coming. Yeshua is coming. He's coming, and he's coming soon. And the biblical prophecies of that Bible, Ezekiel's vision of the return of Israel as a nation, I mean, how could you deny that? It's just unbelievable. The dry bones are on their feet now. The children are playing in the streets just like Jeremiah said it would happen.
Okay. So I just kind of wanted you guys to hear that. So all of a sudden now, hold on. Now all of a sudden, people trying to say that those aren't the people are doing replacement theology. Not the fact that those people aren't the people. And many people are now coming to that conclusion that the Israelis or the Jewish people that are over there are not God's chosen people. But if anyone comes, like against Paul Begley here, he's saying that it's, other people that are saying things like that are trying to do replacement theology. But it was funny though, because even on the video, it's not like he was like his heart wasn't even in it trying to defend them. No, but that's okay. Now, that's either here nor there. But look at what you wanted to hear is the people that he was talking about, the modern day theologians that he looks up to. I'm pretty sure just about all those men were all white men who all go to the same theological seminaries, who have all been taught pretty much the same dogma and doctrine. But they can say whatever they say is the gospel truth and no one even questions it. See how that works? Okay. Now, and just like I said, if they say certain things, no one even questions it. If, myself or another man of color says something, there's a problem. That's why it's so difficult, for us to get our people to even listen to us half the time. Unless, they have the seed already put in them, then they'll be drawn to us and they will listen. But if they don't have it, then it's not for them. Now, something else that happened that I thought was pretty interesting was this morning there was a story that came up, and it was talking about how I guess they are taking when Latinos at the southern border are coming to this country, that they're separating the kids and the parents, and the parents might not ever see their kids again. And I told it I knew they were doing certain things like that, but I didn't realize that was what's going on to this extent. And Jeff Sessions tried to use the Bible to justify taking the children away from these people. So this is only like a minute clip, and I wanted you guys to hear this, and we're going to get into some scriptures after this, because this was pretty hilarious trying to use the Bible to justify this. Here we go.
A little bit of digression here to discuss some concerns raised by our church friends about separation of families. Many of the criticisms raised in recent days are not fair, not logical, and some are contrary to plain law. First, illegal entry into the United States is a crime. It should be, it must be, if you're going to have a legal system and have any limits whatsoever. Persons who violate the law of our nation are subject to prosecution. If you violate the law, you subject yourself to prosecution. Now, I would cite you to the Apostle Paul and his clear and wise command in Romans 13 to obey the laws of the government, because God has ordained the government for his purposes. Orderly and lawful processes are good in themselves. Consistent, fair application of law is in itself a good and moral thing, and that protects the weak. It protects the lawful.
Okay. So it's pretty funny that we're busting out, I wanted to say Romans 13. But before we get into Romans 13, let's take a look at Deuteronomy 19 and 14, because how was this land taken? See, this land was given to the northern kingdom as an inheritance, as a blessing. When the Most High gives you or points a certain land to you, other people are not allowed to take it. And if you do take someone else's land, there'll be destruction and woe to the people that do that. Let's take a look at that really quick. In Deuteronomy, go there real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 14. Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that the Lord thy God giveth thee, to possess it. So you're not allowed to remove your neighbor's landmarks. You're not allowed to take their land and call it your own. So if you did that, then all the other stuff that is talking even about later on doesn't apply. Because if you didn't get the land, if the Most High didn't give you the land, it's not yours. Okay? That's why we have this picture here. Just steal it. Because that's what's happened. Everything has been stolen. And let's see, because actually it was talked about in Psalms how a group of people were going to do this. Go and take other people's lands and then name it after their own selves. Okay? Psalms chapter 49, verse 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. So there you go. You got your America from Amerigo Vespucci. You got your Africa from Scipios Africanus. You got all these different names, and they name all these lands after themselves. And this is exactly what's happened like right now. When we were at Newport Beach and watching everybody just loving life, living life, taking jogs at, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, in the morning, like not a care in the world, get in their $200,000, $300,000 cars to go to, to go have a play date with some friend at the park. and just loving life. It's summertime and it's 72 degrees down there. It's beautiful. But I didn't see any of our people living down there. They're down there working. Okay. Let's take a look at Psalms again. I'm going to read this again. Psalms 49:11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. These people down there think that this stuff is going to just continue like this forever because they work so much harder than the rest of us. Okay. That their houses shall continue forever and their dwelling places to all generations. They're going to keep handing down their houses to their kids forever. They call their lands after their own names. That's what's been happening. Okay. Now, what I did see was this. Like I said, if you got the land the wrong way in the first place, then all the other stuff that you're trying to use later on to justify, well, we stole it, but you can't come in. Yeah, we took it, but you can't come in. You have to do it the legal way. We took it all the wrong way, but you got to do it the legal way. And if you show up now, we're going to take your kids from you, and you might not ever see them again. That's what's playing out now. And they try to use the Bible to justify that. Did I miss my? Oh no. Oh, hold on. I guess I didn't put my thing up here. Hold on, let me get this real fast because I get the picture, but I did look up. Hold on real fast. Let me get it. Let me get to my pictures because I got the two different translations. Let me find it. And I just didn't put them up. But if you Google Romans 13, it should show up. You got the ERV and you got the King James version of what is it here? Of Romans 13, verse 1. Let's read the ERV. All of you must obey the government rulers. Everyone who rules was given the power to rule by God, and all those who rule now were given that power by God. Okay, so that's what this is talking about here in the ERV, which I'm sure that's what it sounds like what Jeff Sessions had read. Now let's read from the King James Version. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of God. Now, when I look up the precepts for this Romans 13 and 1, it gives me Deuteronomy 17 and 15. So let's go there really quick. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15. See, this is what happens. They don't show you any of the precepts. So they said, hey, it says you got to obey the government. So whatever we say goes. That's it. Is that the intention? Is that what Paul was really referring to? No, he was referring to Deuteronomy 17 and 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose, one from among thy brethren. So we're talking about the king setting up here is a Hebrew. Okay. Among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. So you're not allowed to set, we're not even allowed to set kings who are from the other nations over us. We're only allowed to set other Hebrews that the Most High will choose to be kings. That's what this is talking about. And that's what Paul was talking about. He was not talking about Gentiles being set up over you. But you see, like, but this is what happens when you take out the precepts and then you can just say whatever you want to say. Get that? Now, I did want to read something else because, like I told you before, that if you get lands, ill-gottenly, then all the other stuff does not apply. If you steal the land and you steal the labor, woe and destruction is coming. And I'll prove that really quick here. Let's go to Micah, chapter 2, and we'll read 1 through 4. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. So when they have power and they're on top, this is what they do. They devise these kinds of things. Here we go. Verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. So they take the land and they take the labor. That's what's going on right here. Therefore, this is verse 3 and 4 though. Therefore, thus saith the Most High, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. In that day shall one take up a parable against you, and lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He hath changed the portion of my people. How hath he removed it from me? Turning away, he hath divided our fields. So what you do and what you've done is going to happen to you. That's what this is talking about. When you have the power and you were on top, you took things that were not yours. And the Most High is now, at the end, going to restore his people. Sorry I didn't get that picture up there, but you guys can Google that up, and then you guys can find that yourselves. And that one other place I want to read this also out of is from the book of Enoch. It's chapter 97, verse 13. Woe to you who build your houses by the labor of others. Every part of that which is constructed with brick and with a stone of crime, I tell you that you shall not obtain peace. So the country that, steals another man's labor will not obtain peace. And this country has been, around for a few hundred years, but it's been at war for like almost 90% of the time it's been around. And it talked about how this country was never going to know peace, the one that steals the labor of, especially from his people. Okay? So that's what this is talking about. Again, I'll read it one more time. Book of Enoch, chapter 97, verse 13. Woe to you, and woe means destruction. Woe to you who build your houses by the labor of others. Every part of which is constructed with brick and with a stone of crime. I tell you that you shall not obtain peace. So this whole country has been established by the stealing the land from the northern kingdom and from the labor from the northern and from the southern kingdom. So that's why there's no peace. And even over there in Israel, there's no peace. Okay? Now, this is why it's so important that you cannot listen to the other nations when they're trying to break down the Bible. There's a couple of examples right there where they're trying to break down the Bible and they just got it totally wrong. And then they only listen to other people who, white men, just like them. So when they say something, no one even questions it. When we say something, we need to actually have, 20 scriptures to substantiate every little thing that we say. Now, when we all come into the truth, I can speak for myself. When I came into the truth, I believed that these churches had the keys to heaven. They had they were God's messengers here on earth. So when I did come into the truth, it took me a little bit of time to leave the church. Okay, because it's difficult when you've been given white Jesus forever and you just believe that white Jesus is the only way to salvation. Okay, so it makes it really, really difficult to walk away. Because that's what happened as far as me. I can talk to myself, but I think that's a lot of us, because you've been so programmed to think that you have to go to them and they have to approve everything. Just like when you want to get married, you got to go to their church, talk to the pastor or the priest, and get their approval. After you go through some classes, and they say that you're ready. Okay, so when you start leaving these organized religions, you're told that you are in a cult. And then so it's a big step, because everyone's going to this left here over here on the left hand side. They're following all these different. They're calling God, Lord, Jehovah, Jesus, Zeus, Dios. They're following all these Allah. They're following all these different gods. And as long as you're following one of those gods, you're okay, because those gods love everybody. All right, but we get called that we're in a cult because we just choose to go on a different path. But what I like to do is I like to look at definitions of words. Okay, because we say we're Hebrew Israelites, that we're in a cult, and it's pretty funny because I'm taking a look here at the definition of the word cult. And it's a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. A cult. Let's look at the next one here. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. That's weird. Let's see here. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. Let me see here. A small group, huh? I would think that looks like a small group going to the right. And people on the left hand side will probably say, yeah, your guys' belief system is strange and sinister, right? So it looks like maybe the people on the right are actually part of a cult because, but would Mashiach Yahushua be considered a cult? Was he following anything on going to the left? No, I think he would probably be considered being in a cult too. How about his apostles? They were probably considered being in a cult at that time as well because they weren't following Baal worship. They weren't following any of that stuff. They were doing their own thing, separate, holy. Holy means separate. That's what the people going to the right here looks like. So a cult just means like a small group of people who are doing something different from the norm. But what's funny is this, is that if you look at the synonyms, you see the word denomination. So if you have 20 to 30, I don't know, 20, 30, 40,000 different Christian denominations, that's okay. Because, and you can just call them denominations, but if you call a Hebrew Israelite, you call them a cult. And then a lot of people just, when they say you're in a cult, they just get these negative connotations to it. Okay. But I have a couple of other definitions here because I got from one of my older Bibles. This Bible is from the 1950s. Been blessed with this one here as well. So let's take a look at this. A cult, worship, reverential honor, religious devotion. Number 2, the system of outward forms and ceremonies used in worship, religious rites and formalities. That's weird. So hold on. The system of outward forms and ceremonies, kind of like, I don't know, um, ceremonies used in worship, like Christmas, Easter, first communions, baptisms, confirmations. Could those be considered ceremonies used in worship? I would think so. Religious rites, that same kind of thing, and formalities. You got to go through certain formalities and things like that. So this and regular people's religions could be considered a cult based on this. Let's see. Here's 3 and 4. Deep regard for some person or thing. Excessive admiration or attention. Veneration, homage. Okay, as the Whitman cult. So deep regard for some person or thing. I don't know, kind of like Virgin Mary, Cesare Borgia, anything like that. That could be considered a cult as well. Number 4, the person or thing receiving extensive and devoted attention, admiration, as the poster is a present cult among a certain class of artists. Okay, but what was missing on this one was this. Over here with the first dot, a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. They added that later, knowing, of course, that we were going to wake up and it's going to be a relatively small group of people who are going to break off from the norms and start following their own power. They start following their own law, statutes, and commandments. So that part was all added a little bit later to a different definition. But the original definition didn't have that. But the whole thing was a small group. Okay, because it's always been a small group. So when you're talking about these big churches and they're all talking about how, well, this, all the theologians, and they're all pretty much all white, they've taught this, so therefore we're all going to believe this. Yeah, but then you're going with the masses. And what does the masses get you? That's what this is what the masses get you. Going to the lake of fire, that is. That's what the masses go. Okay? So if you've been blessed with the knowledge and understanding of the truth, I would suggest, making that veering right and following the Most High's path and not following the big group that's going to the left. All right? Now, when it came into the truth also, Same kind of a thing kind of happened even when we left the church. And this is kind of like here. Our history was written by those that hung our heroes. Given this fact, it is therefore foolish to believe that the history taught to us is true. A lot of things that we've been taught is false. Okay. And even coming into the truth, you know, we can't just accept everything that is just told to us as gospel truth. We need to study and read and pray for the Holy Spirit to guide our understanding. You know, when I came into the truth, the same kind of thing happened, because then you kind of get into, well, this camp teaches this and this camp teaches that. And, and all the camps want to say that, well, what I'm teaching is the truth. Well, no, what I'm teaching is the truth. And if you don't come to my camp, then you're going off, which is the same kind of thing that fell into when we were in churches. And so I never got into any of the camps or anything like that. I said, but I did learn quite a few things from all the different camps. I got great information when you first starting out. I said, I got a lot of great information from all the camps. So because, there's a lot of information that we have never been exposed to before. And they did a great job of laying a great foundation for me. Okay. But just like we're supposed to study the Bible, here a little, there a little, precept as we do our precept. That's even the same thing, even in this truth. We have to be able to, go through and parse through information and find out what is true and what is not. Some people, but they believe that their group has all the information, and are the best breakdowns. Other people, so there are some people who like to sit, in a room with 3 or 4 other people and act like they have all the truth, and that if you don't agree with everything that they do, then you're going off. And how is that possible? If we're supposed to be 144,000 men, and then 1/3 of the women and children, then how is it possible then that only 3, 4, or 5 people can have all of the truth? And if you don't agree with them, then you're going off. I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. So many of us chosen who have been awakened, we all have some of the truth, of course, but we're all part of the body. So when that body's not functioning right, I says, hey, some people are the head, some people are the feet, some people are the hands, some people are the legs, and we all have our mission to accomplish. Okay, so we have to make sure that we know whatever the Most High wants us to do, whatever our mission is, He will equip us for whatever that mission is. And I was getting equipped for the last few years, where I would study and study and study, but I was not prepared to make videos or to share. So, but I was being prepared for the last 2 or 3 years before I started making videos to do this. And we've all, like I said, we're all soldiers, and we all have our missions to complete, and that's what's going on right now. But like I said, I've learned from a lot of different people. I some things I agree with from certain people, some things I don't. If I, and I'll research it out. But like I said, we're all part of the body, and we need to actually start working together and stop making it so much like a fighting with one another over every little thing. Because the Most High is the one. We're not going to have everything the right way until the Most High sends His Son back to put us all in order. But one thing I do know is that the Hebrew brethren are the ones that are going to be on top. We are the ones that the Most High is dealing with. We are the ones that the Most High communicates with. We are the ones that are supposed to bring light into this world. So when I hear, Gentiles trying to break things down or tell me something, this is what I always think of. We will not have it. We're not going to have you guys say anything to us about what our scriptures say. We will not have it when you guys try to break things down that you have no idea what you're talking about. If other people want to listen to them, this is their domain. So if the vast majority want to listen to them, go right ahead. But when they try to come over here to us and talk in that mess, we will not have it. We're not going to have any of that stuff over here. So because I said we're the future kings and the future queens of this place, and the Most High is already raising us up. and he's taking those blinders off so that we can see, and we can see now when our enemies are talking that we will not have it. I'm not going to have any Gentile coming and trying, hey brother, we're going to try to break this down for you. We're going to try to help you understand. No, we're not. We're not even wasting my time with that. You've had many years trying to break things down for me. I said, and we're not going to have that anymore. So I think we got a couple of examples of what happens when the other nations are trying to break down the scriptures, and how messed up that is, and how that's just had our people messed up in the head, and how now the Most High is now waking us up and bringing us back into true knowledge and understanding of ourselves. And to all my brethren who are in the truth, who are doing the work, and we just got to understand that we all have our missions, and I might not understand everyone else's mission, and you might not understand mine. So I might give me some information that you don't have, and might give you some information that I don't have. But ultimately, we're all working for the same power. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. Okay, I give all praises to the earthly mother, the Holy Spirit. I pray that they bless this lesson. Shalom.